Hold on, wait. Are we doing everything on IG as well? Because
Yeah.
I could put my joint on IG, I believe.
Yes. Run it up.
Then let me just set it up real quick because I know I got to put the little pin in real quick.
Uh, I hit the live button.
Oh
No, but
no,
go
no,
ahead.
no,
Go
it's
ahead.
all good. It's all good because I'll be able to do it anyway.
Bet. All right. And I just officially hit the live button on IG as well. It's not going to mess that up. Okay, what's going on, everybody that's watching the good stuff? We have obviously an awesome ensemble of folks here today. We got Jamel Lessie over here from Concord Comics, and we've got Lonzo Starr as well. We are going to get to talking about power scaling right after this intro. Maybe we're not because it decided not to play. Anyway,
Sheesh.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? Of course, Lloyd Jones with Midnight Comics. We're doing an indie breakdown, indie versus power scaling conversation. Today, we're talking about street level characters. What does it mean to be street level? If we can dive into that, I do want to hear Mr. Lessie first. Tell me, what is a street level character?
Yeah, in my honest opinion, every time I heard of like street level characters, I am thinking from uh like a Dick Tracy to a Batman to Daredevil. Maybe a Moon Knight, depending how you look at it. You know understand what I'm saying? Because he gets his powers is an assistant power. He gets assistance. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he's still a regular human. So that's how I look at street level.
Okay.
Um, I've never anybody with an ability or enhancement for whatever reason. You can't by definition be called human at that point in a sense. I guess.
Okay.
Um, you know what I'm saying? Because something in your genetics has changed, altered. Whether you got something in your blood, whatever happens, you are now a
Something a little
mutant.
bit more.
Something more. So every
Okay.
time I heard street level, I think of that you can fall off a cliff and die. you
Okay.
know,
This is a fact.
that's how I look at street level characters.
How about you, Lonzo? What is a street level character in your definition?
To me, a street level character is somebody who stays local to their neighborhood, and it depends on the threat level that they can handle. Usually, nothing that's like world breaker. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Maybe a city destroyer, possibly,
Okay.
but yeah, that's kind of where I look at it. And if I could say characters that I would deem that's from Batman to the Moon Knights to Spider Man's on the high end of the spectrum, and the Luke Cages, stuff like that. But I feel like they're all street level guys because they rarely ever leave their neighborhood and they
Yes.
stay right where they are.
Okay. I think where I kind of fall somewhere in between both of y'all's answers, right? I agree. Maybe characters like Spider-Man, although enhanced, would have super strength. I also agree that, of course, if it's somebody that doesn't really leave their city, that's kind of where they are. But I'm kind of more on the um, also that kind of level of destruction or ability, if you would. So, like Batman. Batman was another example that you use, right? Batman's not
Mhm.
leaving a city, nor does Batman have him physically the ability to do anything that's going to destroy the city. Does he have gadgets? Absolutely. Does he have contingencies and stuff that could lead to whatever? Absolutely. But can he himself, as the person, do anything that can destroy the city or anything of that nature? No, not at all. So, with that being said, I am going to bring up the images that I have of who I personally kind of think falls into the different tiers, if you would, of street level characters from the mainstream. So, from the anime side, I've got my boy Moomin Rider over here from One Punch Man. I've got
He's the
Levi,
goat.
the goaded. What's going on, Tavis? We're actually obviously we're talking about power scaling, and we have your power scaling list on this slideshow, of course, as well. Again, anybody that's watching and listening, Tavis came up with the power scaling list that we use here in the Indie Breakdown and Indie Versus. Very awesome guy. Definitely check him out. He's got some awesome characters on the way. But yeah, on the anime side, we have Moomin Rider from One Punch Man. We've got Levi Ackerman. I'm not sure if everybody's going to agree with
Oh
that, but
man,
Levi
Levi.
Titan. And of course, we got Eraserhead from My Hero Academia. Um, we'll stop there really quick for the anime side. Are we the only one that I think is a point of contention? I guess that I was assuming it would be like Levi because he's fighting Titans or anything like that. But my idea is essentially he's a regular street dude because first off, his upbringing, but second, you shoot this guy, he's done. Right?
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's his durability and other stuff. So although he's taking on things that can decimate entire towns and cities, and obviously, the rumbling, I don't put him anywhere above a street level thing. And we'll dive into that power scale list in a second. But do we disagree with this list at all? Any points of contention with the anime side?
I mean, for me, yes, and I could be wrong.
No. Go ahead.
But if you look at Eraser Man, even in his universe, I believe there was or is a spinoff of heroes that don't have no abilities and powers, so they quirks, but they don't have no quirks. So again, to me, that's what. So Levi falls. If you used to take Levi and bring to any superhero universe, Marvel, DC, Concrete, Midnight, in my personal opinion, he would, as is. No matter what he's fighting, he still falls into a street level because, like I said, a bullet will take him out or fall off. If he misses from his what's those things called? Whatever the things he shoot to connect to the wall.
Oh, the ODM gear.
Yeah, the ODM gear. If he misses and he falls, he's done.
Game over.
So that's how I look at street level characters. So the only thing I would really disagree with, because even like I said, is Eraser Man, because in his own universe, people without quirks and they fight, they was quote unquote just heroes without quirks.
Yeah,
and that's the street level.
I see. Now, granted, yeah, right. He does have special abilities and stuff, but I guess where I come from in position in regards to that, devil's advocate, counterpoint, or whatever like that. He said I have to make up a new guy since Lonzo killed off Pinpoint.
Hey, I didn't kill him off, man. Come on, bro. It was all under the reins.
Your team captain did that. That wasn't.
But he set him up for failure. He got in the way, and casualties happened. But it was no hard feelings, man. I'm saying it's all business, man. Just business, nothing personal.
But no, what I would say in regards to Eraserhead is like characters like your Endeavors or All Mights. Again, everybody that has quirks anyway, right? Your Endeavors and All Mights and All for Ones would be city to continent levels of strength, right? Mm-hmm. But then you have your other characters like even Todoroki. Yeah, maybe he can freeze over an entire city at max and stuff like that. But Eraserhead isn't outputting, and I guess that's the nuances, I guess, when it comes to power scale, where it's just like, you have the normal rung of people without quirks, then you have people that have quirks, but Lockrock's not taking that. Well, I guess depending on how you want to scale up his abilities, if he trained at X, Y, and Z, but Lockrock's not taking out an entire city. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I guess that's where I'm at. What is that? Is that output enough to be city level? I guess is kind
well. I look at it like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to base it off, I don't think it's whether they leave the city or not. It's a matter of if you take any superhero and you place him in another location, who are they still in that location?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So
right.
Batman is going to be Batman no matter where he goes. Even if you take him to an alien city in space, he can't do enough to change anything outside of whatever suit or gadget he brings along. Yeah. If you take Superman and bring him to an alien planet, Superman can be a real threat to that planet. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I feel like I think street level are just when I first heard the terminology street level, I am thinking more grounded, more, closer to what I am in reality.
Yes.
And then above that is okay. You know what I'm saying? If Batman was to get injected with secret serum, he is no longer street level in my eyes. Even if he still does the same exact shit, bro, you can now lift up a car with ease.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like that's still even lifting up a car. Like, for instance, Captain America's job title leads him going multiple places, fighting multiple things, fighting things that will protect ultimately the continent or the world. versus Daredevil's usually fighting something that directly conflicts with the residents in that area or people in that area. Same as Spider-Man, usually dealing with stuff that affects the citizens of New York City. He's not worried about Connecticut or nowhere else. He's not in
Facts.
Philadelphia. He's literally only in his one location fighting for his community. To me, that's where I look at street level heroes.
I see.
But
Eh, Now,
but power does matter to me though at the same time.
yes,
You know what I
yes, and
mean? So it's like a perfect marriage between location,
it's
power, and threat.
okay. And I think that's closer to where, like I said, I'm somewhere in between where both of y'all said, but yeah, that's probably closest to where I'm at. And anybody that's watching, listening, all that other good stuff, throw in your 2 cents. Tavis said street level to me are characters that work mainly on the streets, fighting thugs, criminal organizations, etc. So yeah, absolutely. So what I am going to do, let's move over to the right hand side here. We got the Marvel characters, of course. We got Batman sitting there in the middle, but we've got Punisher, Daredevil, and Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man would be a point of contention for Jamel, again, since we're talking about enhanced characters and stuff like that in that. But again, anybody else that's watching and listening right now, is Spider-Man, Punisher, and Daredevil, would they fall under street level characters?
Punisher and Daredevil to me for sure.
Okay.
What's going on,
Again,
everybody on IG?
again, even Spider-Man. I mean, a lot of people forget that Spider-Man is still semi-mutating, even though it hasn't been an issue. You know, it was a story arc or whatever the case may be. From my understanding, he's still semi-mutating, and he can or potentially could become much more, whether monstrous or more powerful. So again, even that within itself lets me know that again, with my belief and understanding, I don't think Spider-Man belongs there.
Okay.
But if we're talking about where they constantly fight and threat level, if that will be agree on, then I could be like, yeah, Spider-Man is a certain level of a street level character. But outside of that, again, more grounded.
I see.
You know what I'm
So a
saying?
lot of the chat on IG is saying no to Spider-Man. He's not street level.
Interesting. I got Alan over here said only Punisher on that list would be considered street level in his eyes. And then Chuck Cox said
Daredevil's not Punisher,
Spidey
not
is
street level.
king of the street level. I do have to agree with Chuck there. I and again, if we include Punisher and Daredevil in the list, Daredevil was able, and again, this might be a more recent comic again. When I say most recent, it's within the last 5 to 10 years, but there was a comic where Daredevil ran through like Rhino and several other characters, right? So if he's doing that, right, that's a Spidey villain, right? So now it's like, dang, he's putting out comparable, whether it's just in finesse and senses and dodging and whatever, and his fighting ability to be able to do that. But I guess we're all right now in this initial portion of it is talking about kind of story-wise with street level, and of course trying to apply that as well into a power scaling thing before we move to Tavis's created power scaling list. But I, personally, again, everybody on here, of course, obviously I made the slide, so I definitely think that all of these characters are street level in regards to not only how they operate, where they operate, but the level of damage or ability that they're able to output, right? So Spider-Man's not leveling a continent. He's not, there's no outside of Captain Universe type Spider-Man, right? Is he able to do anything that's decimating a continent, right? So he's right off rip under that level.
But
right?
my question is, I guess another way of looking at it is, if all 7 of these characters was to die, only a legit 2 of them is getting their bodies are getting saved for research and DNA.
Yeah,
because once you find out that the rest of them just regular humans, Batman was just a gym rat, a gym rat. You know what I'm saying? Daredevil, gym rat, Punisher, trigger happy. Like once you ain't realize that, all right, they're gonna throw those away. Eraser Man and Spider-Man is gonna get studied. They're gonna essentially go to create more super soldiers off of their blood. So from that level, I think that removes them from being grounded. You
I
know,
see what you're saying.
you
Though
know what I'm saying?
you're saying grounded character in the sense of
Well,
I could be this
yeah.
guy in real life if I train hard enough, versus this person has a special ability that is never going to be attained.
Right.
Got
But,
you, got you. So
but see, I think that's where the marriage of where do they fight, how do they fight, comes into the
All
place
right, so
of
pause.
the.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
Mhm.
where would you consider Spawn then? Because for most of his story, he's in the city, in the alley. He only fights in that general area. I mean, of course, he travels, but he's always in that same city. But you put
He's
him
he's
in.
a blend of two. He's a street level supernatural cat, kind of like you can almost consider Ghost Rider street level, almost, but he's not. He just travels a little more, but
mhm,
he's their all of their stuff is a lot more personal. Like their rumbles, their fights, their battles, they're a lot more function. They're a lot more personal. They're usually fighting for themselves or for their local community. Just
yeah,
like Lloyd mentioned, Rhino, Daredevil fighting Rhino. You don't see Rhino outside the streets. He don't be nowhere else.
right.
He
He's
be in
So,
the
he's,
city.
he's a heavy hitter for sure.
Yeah, he's a heavy
And
hitter,
there's
but
a
so,
upper
he don't lead
echelon
the
of
streets.
power that he's reaching.
so maybe the issue is the terminology. Maybe the name
Yes.
street level is
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
wrong term to call these characters.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because maybe we could go from grounded level character based
Hmm.
off of specific things, and then street level depends on where and how they fight. You know,
Yeah.
if you're a street, if you got street level threats, you need a street level superhero. Then you got a citywide, stretch statewide threat, planet, threat. The list can go on.
Yeah.
So maybe the terminology we are using and or given is just wrong.
And that is the perfect
So
segue.
so according to Deja Vu, he said Daredevil is the definition of street level. He is only in Hell's Kitchen, and he also says Spawn exists across spirit planes, doesn't he? He does.
Yeah. And like at first Spawn might have been, but obviously he is like
Yeah,
God at this
Spawn.
point.
Well, no, we're talking about Spawn and where the story has come and
Oh
went.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's different. But if you really break it down,
yeah.
Spawn is
It's in
Yeah,
that same
Spawn is
damn
in
Spawn
the
would be
alley.
city,
considered
same
street
city,
level.
same alley.
Yeah.
And whether it's his city, he's always in somebody's city.
Right.
So that's what I was trying to say. If we take Batman out of Gotham and we brought him to Miami, he's still gonna be Batman in Miami.
Facts.
You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
Yeah.
And so
So then maybe street level only really means locational. Like they're just they stay, you know, to their area.
Yeah.
They don't go outside of it. They're you know what I mean? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
power level can vary. It can vary a lot. Like Spider
And
Man
that's
is a massive jump from Punisher in
big,
power,
big time. Big time.
but Spider Man in the most classic form of Spider Man, he doesn't leave Queens
Hmm.
in Manhattan. He's just New York. That's it. He's not swing. He not taking a train down to Philadelphia and going to fight in the,
Stop.
in the city of brotherly love.
Whoever's
He not
out
hopping
there.
on a plane.
but I
But
know
there's
I just think that's the wrong way of looking at it.
I see. So you
Because go ahead, I'm sorry.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. No.
Because I think just how we would look at villains' threat levels, we have to look at what and who the heroes can handle.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You're definitely calling Moomin Rider, Daredevil, Punisher to handle. I'm gonna take Daredevil out of that. Moomin Rider and Punisher to handle specific thugs.
Yeah.
And then you would really use Batman and Daredevil and still even Punisher to handle maybe the drug lords or the leader of that group.
Yeah.
And then maybe go above, maybe villains with specific powers and enhancements. But there's only so much Batman, Daredevil, and Punisher can handle without story or plot armor. Let me
Right.
just be realistic.
Yeah.
Whereby Spider-Man can handle a certain amount of levels going all the way up. Even if you get a specific alien threat, you and you don't know the level of threat of that alien, you still feel more comfortable calling in a Spider-Man before you do a Batman
Hmm.
because Spider-Man can pick up a car and throw that at an alien. Batman can't do that.
True.
So I believe if we're going to call, from my understanding, because I need to understand how we're using street level, I'm thinking more of a grounded, you're either a police officer that decides to put on tights. That's my idea of street level. A regular dude, all right, cool, I'm going to do this, versus enhancement. Because once you get enhanced for whatever reason, to me, you're like a mutant, alien, mixed, spiritual person. Like, you already have your own
You have something else.
titles.
So I guess the street level is just anybody that has no enhancements.
Okay.
They're just it's either equipment or just their natural fighting ability.
Yeah. And so, funny enough, so a second ago, well, I'm going to go through the comments really quick, but a second ago, Tavis actually dropped something in there just now. So the first is, of course, like you said, Spidey is strong and enhanced physically. His base of operations is the city streets. Resident 76 said Iron Man started out more street level, more as a street level character because he had no powers. Tavis said they would study Batman's brain, going back to what you said earlier, because of his intelligence. Resident 76 said the next couple of things. He said Daredevil has powers from the toxic stuff that blinded him, but Hawkeye and Black Widow would fall under street level, of course, as well. But the terminology for power scaling that Tavis brought up just now, and on the power scaling list, is urban level. That's more of what the power scaling list, no matter where you go, whether it's Tavis's list or any official power scaling list and stuff like that, that's closer to where the terminology would be. He also ended up saying that Luke Cage is another one who works mainly on the streets, but physically he can go with the heavy hitters. And then Chuck Cox was the last one just now that said, I'd argue Ra's al Ghul is a planet-level threat, but I understand where you're going with grounded versus street. And yes, Ra's al Ghul, however you say it, he is a street level. Well, I would say he's street level because he's a regular guy, but his influence in the organization that he runs makes him a planetary level threat because of what he can cause in the long run, but not anything necessarily that he can do himself. And I will segue into that by switching over to Tavis's power scaling list here, which again, if you compare it to, other power scaling lists and stuff out here, this is pretty much on average close to what you'll see, including the kind of breakups and stuff like that. I do love how he has it broken down here, though. And so going to the urban level, again, I'm more attributed to the side of the power scaling where it's what level of destruction or power output does the character provide. Not only does the operation, where they operate and how they operate, but again, where is their power output? And so I think, again, so tier 8 urban level, as stated previously, the 3 tiers in that is small or up to large building destruction, city block level destruction, or multiple city blocks level of destruction. Right. And so that definitely works for a Spider-Man. Right. We can agree that with enough straight, he's knocking that down. But right now, again, so any tier 8, 9, and 10 would be street level characters.
Tier 8, 9, and 10 is definitely street level for
right.
sure.
And if you want to push it, there could be different levels of street level characters. Let's just get that out of the way now as well. Right. Because, you have characters like saying Deku, right? He's not going to space to fight Galactus. Again, I keep using that as an example. We talk about that off air, if you would. But he's not fighting Doomsday. You know what I mean? He's not doing that. There's a certain level echelon or anything like that. But if you want to push it, I think tier 7 through 10 could be where you can find some street level characters. But that's absolutely pushing.
Okay, my question is this. Okay. Deadpool,
okay.
2 versions of Deadpool. Deadpool that can regenerate, a healing factor, and Deadpool without a healing factor. Same characters. Where would you put him?
I would put him at tier 9.
Super tier 9 in the same place because he can't really do no damage like
right.
We're basing off of damage they can themselves or what they have.
Yes, themselves.
Damage themselves can do.
Yes,
like no gadgets, no weapons.
I'm saying, like, see, Dominic Toretto would be a tier 8 for sure. He was able to stomp the ground. He was able to collapse a parking lot by stomping his feet and collapse the entire 7-story parking lot. he also was able to hold a building together by holding on to a chain rope that was holding like the whole ceiling together. And once he pulled it, it collapsed. So Dominic Toretto was definitely level 8 for
You
sure.
just heard this first here, ladies and gentlemen. Dominic Toretto officially scales higher than Deadpool.
For sure. For sure.
Jesus Christ.
Certainly.
A quote from Lonzo
Certainly.
Stone.
I wouldn't be mad if y'all put Dominic Toretto at tier 7 for real, for real.
Jesus. But yeah, exactly though. Like you've never seen, like again, with explosives, any character can level a building, right? With the right tools, they can. But what is the output that character with their innate abilities? What is that scale? And again, if that's a point of contention for anybody, let's talk about it. Now,
But
yeah, having
but
said gadgets
but
can upgrade a character's tier level, right? So again, yes, Batman can whatever. He's got the Hellbat armor. So yeah, now he's going toe to toe with Darkseid. But the moment that breaks, we've got regular old Batman. So when we start saying, hey, let's talk street level characters, you bring them in at that street level. We don't say all of a sudden, hey, he's got, he's that nigga now. He's got the ultimate setup. No. Well, then he's not. We don't need that guy, or that guy's not available because, hence our event that we did before in the thing. Like, hey, if I don't know if Jupiter Man. Let's say Jupiter Man is he's all fighting somewhere. If tier 1 characters are out there. Now he doesn't fall under superhuman anymore. He's out there surviving entropy and black holes and stuff. That's not a street level. You know what I'm saying? But like Batman, okay, Hellbat armor, sure. EMP, okay, he's a regular guy. What are your street level type characters and stuff like that? But yeah, with gadgets, yes, Jamel. Yes. Yeah, that can upgrade them. And like Tavis said and stuff like that. I did not mean to interrupt and ramble just now.
No, you good. I'm listening. I'm just trying to get clear understanding of how we are going to utilize these terminologies moving forward.
So yeah, I think we had a difference in definition. So whether grounded or special ability, if neither gives you enough output to destroy a building, then no, right? And so now, like he said, there's the Batman effect. Can Iron Man, can Batman, can Lex Luthor get the tech necessary, right? And then months or years ago we talked about this is the importance of building out the scenario. So if we say base Batman versus Deathstroke, so no extra gadgets except for the utility belt, that Batman is urban level. Now, if we say full access to everything, he's got Hellbat armor, that jumps this nigga up to fighting or at least standing up to characters like Darkseid.
And that's where
that scales him up.
The armor to me is a gadget. It's a tool.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You can, there is. Again, I believe if I was to get an Iron Man armor, that doesn't change who I am underneath the armor.
No, not at all.
You know what I'm saying? So so if Spider-Man has the iron suit, that's what they call the Iron Spider-Man suit, that enhanced him even more, gave him tech. Yes. But if he lost it, he's still Spider-Man at the end of the day.
But, so right. Now, is that going to give him the ability to destroy a mountain?
Okay, so if we're talking about
power output.
Okay, but if we're talking about natural self,
yeah,
natural. I can understand natural self. Like me, so we go back to where it was in the earlier conversation. I think the most perfect character to dissect would be Meteor Man. Okay, y'all ever watch that movie? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gets powers, but only fight.
Movie. How dare you? How dare you ask me that question?
And he only fights street level thugs, gangsters. So based off understanding, he's street level, but we all know he had a certain amount of output.
Yeah.
So to me, that puts him in a whole nother class. And personally, I wouldn't merge or blend the mutants or the enhanced humans because I think that just takes away from urban level or street level characters. Because at that point you put everything in its own tiers, as we said. So I don't think if we base it off of like all of a sudden Batman gets armor. This is his output.
Oh yeah, no.
No, that just means this street
No,
level character
I
has
think I like how
something.
Alonzo said it a second ago.
I feel like
It's the
everybody
marriage
is.
between all of it.
Yeah, I feel like if we're talking just output, we judge everyone off their base. Who are they at their base?
Yes.
And that's it. At their base, Batman's normal. He would be a tier 10 dude. You know what I'm saying? Daredevil might be a tier 9 guy. Captain America
Well,
tier 9 guy. You know
I
what
would
I'm
say
saying?
Batman could be 9.
Batman wouldn't be 10. Batman would be
9C. He'd be
I mean,
9C.
10 is
He'd be a okay, 9C. Yeah, 9C perfect for Batman.
Yeah.
10 is the cops, the regular
Right.
detective dude.
That's
that
the
work
question.
out.
why wouldn't
That's
Batman be a 9A?
Montoya. You know.
He a 9C.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't he? Batman can easily have those kind of gadgets and weaponry.
At
Well,
base.
and so
At base, he's a 9C.
No, but we're
He's-
talking about Batman the character. You can't strip him of him. You know what I'm saying?
At the Batman at his base, he just has batarangs.
and whatever's in the utility belt.
No,
Right?
Batman
Yeah,
at
that's
his
what it
base has gadgets. He's known to have gadgets and be prepared for situations.
Yeah, but his
So-
base gadgets are what though?
No, listen.
I get what
he,
you're trying
he
to
still
say.
he still has access to specific things. Not so that
Yeah.
so that puts him at a 9A. Just because he doesn't walk around with it doesn't mean you can't take away from Batman.
I'll say this.
Everything makes him Batman. The Batcave, the vehicles, all the weapons, all of that makes him Batman.
At
So
base, he has the belt and contingencies.
Now, I'll say this. There's a recent story. I don't remember the storyline. Maybe it's the White Knight or whatever like that. Essentially, there's a storyline. Joker basically stole this nigga's money. He's done.
The White Knight.
It is White Knight. Okay.
Yeah.
He has nothing. He's living in an apartment somewhere. He's got nothing.
Broke as hell.
Broke. So at the end of the day, though, obviously still, without the gadgets, he is still Batman. He is still want to figure something out. But without access, and again, this is the importance when we do these versus matches and stuff like that, to set scenarios, right? Are we going to use this Batman in versus matches? Probably not, right? But when you get down to it, Batman is still 9C. He by himself, as Bruce Wayne under the mask Batman, just suit him up and give him the utility belt. He'll have smoke bombs.
But what
batarangs.
What variables are we talking about? Because you know what I'm
I'm
saying?
talking about just base.
In power scaling the character proper, 9 times out of 10, again, Tavis or anybody else, let me know. But usually it is what can that character do? And then you say, hey, they have access to these gadgets, X, Y, and Z.
But it shouldn't be a
person.
You know, it shouldn't be.
It's only a certain echelon.
If we know Batman has to travel 45 miles, are we going to just assume he's going to run, or we know he's going to?
No. I wouldn't dare say that.
So all I'm trying to say is, are we judging the totality of a character when we having these conversations, or are we going to
straight base, just base at their basic form, very basic?
So like Tavis said just now, he says Batman is a 9A of base because of the gadget loadout. So technically, yeah, based on that. But usually, and this might be a point of contention for me and Tavis or anything like that, let me know, Tavis. But again, usually when I run into power scaling conversations or what have you, usually it's what can that character output? And then the gadgets or the backup from the Justice League or team, that is like the icing on the cake or whatever. So it's like, hey, it's base Batman versus base Iron Man.
Right.
No access to anything else except for what they normally go into battle with. But then you have the other side of things where it's like, all right, Batman has full access to everything in the Batcave. Iron Man has full access to everything. And now we start scaling. Well, what is the strongest armor that each person has? What is the strongest gadget? But usually it is base for base. What can Batman do? Right? And so you talk strength-wise, right, on the individual character. Yeah, sure. The batarang can explode if depending on the whatever. You got the smoke stuff. But Think about Batman in Justice League Doom or Tower of Babel, whatever like that. In the Doom movie, he's in a coffin. You know, they buried him in the graveyard, and he's sitting there punching his way out of the coffin. All right. Well, obviously, he's not punching the building over. You know what I'm saying? And so when we're talking about what level is he seeing that, no, he's not going blow for Hulk. He's not knocking him out. Where is he strength-wise? Okay, he might be at the Olympic level 9C physically.
So keep in mind too, y'all, that Tavis made this list. So I'm cool with whatever we say. If Tavis says no, this is what it means, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? Because he has a full understanding of why he put this list the way it is. So Tavis, please correct us if we wrong. If you feel Batman's a 9A, I'm cool with it. I see him as a 9. I'll give you 9B. But if you say 9A, that's what he is.
But when you say, but the thing is, when you say Batman, that or Iron Man, that includes everything of Batman and of Iron Man. Now, if you're telling me Bruce Wayne's at a party 500 miles away and he only brought the basic stuff, now we're just talking about a specific story. But that's still, you know what I'm saying?
I guess what I'm saying is
a story where Batman doesn't.
It's just at base though.
No, what I mean is
why
if when you pick up a Batman book,
if we're scaling of the talking, but this conversation is about scaling a character. That means we have to understand a whole plethora of everything they can or bring to the table.
Yeah,
it's unfair to strip him.
No. So what
for a conversation. It's not a story we're trying to create. We're trying to
scale them. No, it's like taking a boxer and just reading off their stats, right? If we take an Iron Man, we start him at his basic suit. That's his basic suit has missiles. His basic suit has missiles, has this, that, boom, 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 boom. He don't got the other stuff he added on there from story complexes. All that other stuff came from stories.
He's not pulling up a Hulkbuster.
At base, he just has a he just has a suit.
Still can call upon these things, whether he chooses to do it. Okay, here's my thing.
Yes,
that depends on the story, though.
Okay, wherever Superman falls, let's say when we have this next conversation for the Superman level threat characters, that is the same thing as saying, well, we have to account for the fact that Superman's always holding back.
Right. So we have to take what is the strongest Superman moment when he stopped holding back. And then if it's canon, and then has he ever surpassed this moment?
But so then that means you have to give. That means you would have to give Iron Man and Batman everything they have at their disposal.
Not necessarily. So here's what I mean by that. So hear me out. So Batman at his strongest, just Batman, sure, whatever. And that's why again, scenarios are important, if anything. But what we're saying in this sense is Iron Man. If we say versus base at base, Batman and Iron Man, whatever. They are not. Iron Man's not always pulling up in Hulkbuster. Batman's not always pulling up in Hellbat. And even if he's out at a party or who's whatever, he's got his base set ready to go. He's gonna have batarangs. He's gonna have a grapple hook. He's gonna have the smoke bombs. He's gonna have
smoke bombs. He's gonna have his car, his bike, his ship.
Right. And like you said, in regards to enhanced people, Spider-Man, Superman. They're not getting a power boost. They don't have an extra, or I guess in the case of Spider-Man, he might have an extra suit or something like that. Now you can talk about symbiote suits and stuff like that. But Spider-Man doesn't always have the symbiote suit. I guess we'll stick with that example, right? And so if he has the symbiote suit, that's a whole different discussion and argument. Whereas Spider-Man without it is a different conversation, stuff like that. So now when you do your versus match, you say, all right, Spider-Man base. And you talk about whichever Spider-Man you want, whether he's got the web cartridges or you have the clone or whatever like that doesn't, whatever. What is Spider-Man doing versus X person? And then if there is access to symbiote suit or access to Iron Spider armor, that's the icing on the cake for the scenario, right? But then you go back to the Superman example like we was talking about. Yes, we see Superman holding back. And so if we want to say blow for blow, is anybody putting out as much output as Superman? Then you take a canon event. What is the strongest moment of Superman that you could pull from in canon in regards to calculating his strength, and then say, all right, this is the strength level that he's outputting. right? And now that's what we use. And that's still, whether he's holding back or strength, that's something inherent to him. That's base for base inherent. But again, we keep the person in character. Is he going to run up on Bruce Wayne and swing on him as hard as he did the World Forger? No. And that's the wonderful kind of nuance.
But my thing is, if we're talking, if the conversation is based off of just scaling,
yeah,
not story or scenarios or
then it's just base for base.
That means base Punisher is a man without a gun.
Yeah. But think about his durability, his fighting prowess.
For scaling Punisher, I'm in the vein of, we're talking about the character, not crazy shit that happened when Batman survived falling from space and shit.
Oh my god!
I'm not talking about that. I am just talking about, if we're talking about what makes Batman, what makes Iron Man, what makes Punisher. At the end of the day, regardless of what everything and anything Punisher can do, Punisher was all about his access to guns. So that is so when we're just talking about power scaling now. We're not talking. So we have to judge them at their 100%. We can't bring them down to 0%. Because when you're telling us
the 0%,
but it's a lot harder.
It's a known fact that Iron Man has suits for almost every occasion. You can't take that away from him if we're trying to scale.
But if we're putting somebody on a stat sheet, you start from the base form, then work your way up. So yes, if at base he may be a 10, a 9A or whatever for Batman, but then once we break down, okay, this is where he starts. How far can he go? Then we start adding on from there. We don't just go from all the way to the end and just place him there, because it wouldn't even make sense.
No, that's if you're building the character.
And a lot of that stuff,
we're talking about known characters.
Yeah, but a lot of that,
to make it a little bit more clear,
a lot of that stuff comes from story. The stuff that he can do.
To make it more clear, the base kit is usually what people talk about. So no, I'm not saying throw Punisher in the ring with no equipment. Punisher is going to come in there 9 times out of 10 with a knife.
He's going to be strapped up.
9 and an M16. That's what we owe, or shotgun.
He's going to be strapped
he's coming there with a rifle, a handgun, and a knife minimum. That's so yes. There's going to be gadgets. I'm not saying strip them. They're out there,
And Iron Man's suit comes with the ability to call in what he needs. You can't take that away from him.
No. That's the suit, though. But that's Iron Man. We're talking about Batman at base. Is just if he's just walking around patrolling the city, he just has on regular stuff. Right. Yeah, on his fat suit, batarangs. He got what he got on. He's not gonna have just the Hellbat sitting on top of a roof somewhere.
I said access. Listen to what I said. Have access. I'm judging the totality of the character and scaling based off of the list I'm looking at, because this is that nowhere on here does it say base or at there. Because at the end of the day, I'm looking at it as I would first judge Superman at the fact that of where he can get his max power if he was to sit in the sun. Because he's that level threat. We're talking about level threat. Not what they're doing today, what they can potentially do. So Superman is an extreme threat. So because of what he can do, that's how Batman looked at him.
So let's ask Tavis real quick. Real quick, Tavis, are we starting from base at their truest form, who they are, or is this just wherever they got to?
Yeah, Tavis actually said in a comment here that he thinks that we should have a base rating and a potential rating, and Vince White with the indie deck actually did something just like that in regards to that. There was here's what they are when they're normally doing stuff, and then it's balls to the wall. If I don't figure this out, everybody's dead type situation. And so
I'm fine with that.
Superman is, he's not destroying a galaxy,
but he could.
I've never seen a move of Superman.
I'm sorry. I spoke too soon, but he's a threat.
He's a threat. He's a threat to the galaxy, right? But he's, that's going to be a lot. Me and Tosh was talking about this earlier. Like they were saying, Cell Saga, Cell could destroy the universe, right? And so that's a whole thing. right? So yeah, maybe eventually he can go through and destroy it. But I'm imagining, again, this is Tavis's list, and
But listen,
According
I
to the
don't think
Godfather of the
Superman is
list,
destroying according to that,
yeah.
I don't think he's destroying a galaxy. But I would say
listen, but how do you?
top 4A.
But if you judge a
According to the
threat,
Godfather of the list, Tavis said we're starting at base.
that's fine if Travis say that way. I know I'm standing on how I feel because
Phil.
listen. If I was to get for most people, me, I love pit bulls.
Phil has no point in this
I
logical world.
love pit bulls. You know, my brother had one. People judge the potential of what that pit bull can do if the lockjaw or they get ignorant or you treat them bad. They don't judge them at base level puppy or these well trained. They're like, listen, this dog is a threat to your family and or your little kids to other dogs, not knowing how he's trained, how he was raised, none of that. So my thing is, because of Superman's potential, that's how we judge the threat, not what he does on his day to day.
Now,
Batman has the potential of plethora of items and gadgets where this is what he can, and he has access to it, same as Iron Man. So why would we now judge the base and not the potential?
The difference is because, like you said, and I agree with what you're saying, and we do have a couple comments, but I think the difference is Superman's strength is an innate to him, and he chooses to hold back. The moment he stops holding back, we can take those moments of, all right, this is the highest output that he has.
But wait.
Like he doesn't get Zenkai boost.
But that's my thing.
But Batman has to call in a suit. Bruce Wayne is not leveling a building with punches. If he runs out of batarangs, now again, we're still saying base kit is fine. Base kit is fine. But name something in his base kit that's leveling a continent.
Listen, I'm not trying to say. I'm just saying. I'm just saying he has. The whole point of when you label something a threat is because of what they have access
what they can do,
or what they can do.
Into the threat section, though. I don't.
Right,
my bad. The threat, whatever. But I'm saying in my personal opinion, you judge them on what they potentially can do because that's how you understand their true level. You're not going to call. If you're having a specific fight, you're not going to call Batman because of his base. You're going to call Batman because of what
story complex.
Right. And so that's what we're talking about, power scaling.
What he can bring.
What's going on, Molly?
Yeah.
So
that's what we mean by power scaling, though. Like you just said, if there's a bunch of paradooms like in Justice League what Apocalypse War, right? I'm not calling Batman to fight Paradoom. I will have him plot out what the team should do. Maybe he'll be able to get inside and disrupt, communications or whatever like that. But if I'm like, hey, bro, I'm in a fight. I'm fighting against Doomsday, bro. I need you to help me fight this thing. I'm not calling him for the blow for blow. I'm not. Now, I will say, somebody asked on the Instagram, Dante Nike, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. He said, can you run up and just punch on Bruce at any time? And this reminds me of a conversation me and Lonzo had a couple months ago. Would we try to fight Batman for the $1 billion? I might try. For $1 billion?
I'm rumbling Batman for sure.
For $1 billion? I'm going to take that shot.
I'm going to do just like the boy told Cap and Winter Soldier. Yo, put the shield down, baby. Come on. You know what I mean? What's up?
Run it up.
Run it up right now, man.
Several comments that we missed. Tavis says certain characters can have 2 ratings of tier levels. Even the old Savage Hulk base level strength was 90, but his potential was limitless. Eric says Batman whips Iron Man's ass stripped down. Spider-Man, once he learns or develops martial arts,
block him immediately.
Block
him immediately.
Block him immediately. He said stripped down.
Whips Iron Man's ass stripped down. Yeah.
So if we're talking just Tony Stark,
you see, that's my point. You don't listen.
If we're talking Tony Stark sitting in his office, sure, but I don't know exactly what he means.
He said exactly what he means. I think he was just commenting on if the 2 base for base, no suit. But obviously, of course, in this conversation, we're talking base.
Yeah, Iron Man, Tony's base is his suit.
Right. And so Batman's base is right. And so whatever that is, Wolverine has experienced so much over extended time. he is higher than just a brawler. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Eric. Chuck said in a scaling sense. So again, I'm kind of going back a little bit because we did miss a couple of things. He said in a scaling sense, Punisher is just a dude with guns. Iron Man is a dude in a suit. So yeah, regular them without their base kits. They're regular people. Definitely not arguing that. And then yeah, so back to where Tavis said, starting at base, but it could have a potential rating. They think the base of the is horrible. Okay. Anyway, so now we're caught up. Eric did say Superman versus Brightburn. I'm not going to hold you. I didn't watch Brightburn, but Superman does punch harder than that kid does. So as far as I understand, but what I am looking forward to is the indie character side. Okay. So this is going to be good. Again, if we can really quick agree, I guess, on definition in regards to the power scaling.
Mr. Leslie's not going to agree. Okay, he's standing on his fence. He's standing 10 toes down. He don't want to start at base. He wanna equate every last morsel of these characters.
And the power scaling can be different.
As a regular human, right? Whether you see somebody, whether they're good or bad, powers and no powers, when you have a family to protect, you're going to judge them at a specific level. So if there's a bomber out there, you don't know if he has access to the bomb or the bomb is on him. That is a code 10, a code red.
Yeah, you know red level. You up the level. Absolutely.
So even in X-Men, the whole fear mongering is because you don't know what level and what kind of mutant you're getting.
Right.
So from a regular human, Superman is a threat level, whether he's a million times or not.
Batman is a dimensional level threat. If I'm a regular person,
I'm a regular person, I don't know who or what Batman is, and I see these big tanks driving in the street and I don't know. He might decide to flip the script and drop bombs on my house. I don't know. So my point is, you don't judge something at base solely. You have to go potential and or access. Like,
I see what you're saying. So like threat level, when you have it set up like in like the One Punch Man universe or anything of that nature, like absolutely these threat levels, you even have to kind of exaggerate it or scale upwards, right? Let's say conversation, don't laugh at me. Raditz, when he shows up in Dragon Ball Z, would be labeled the One Punch Man of Earth, right? Because there's nobody near his strength, but he's not ending the universe. Right, so he's not ending. Now, let me scoot back here. He could potentially end entire solar systems because we saw King Vegeta do it. Now he's not as strong as King Vegeta, but King Vegeta just waved his hand and took out like 3 planets at the same time. So King Vegeta, let's go with him anyway. He's what? He would be solar system level destruction. He's a tier 4, right? One of the weakest characters in Dragon Ball Z is a tier 4, right? But I guess all that to say, like that threat level to a regular person would be like, oh my gosh, he's disrupting everything, right? But all that to say, the threat level can be exaggerated, but power scaling in regards to these characters in these versus matches don't necessarily fall under the same definition. And Tavis, help me out if that makes sense. Help me out if that makes sense.
No, you make sense. You make sense to me. I'm just talking for the right now.
Yes,
for what this is, like, why would it be?
I have
if we're character building,
yes,
right? If we're character building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was to create Batman,
yes,
take out the versus anything,
yes.
What makes Batman is, to me, is the totality, the money, the access to Fox, the access to the Batcave, and everything. To me, that is Batman. Does he go out in base form? Yes.
Okay.
But the character Batman has access to the suit, the weapons, the gadgets, the money, the 5,000 different bat towers in Gotham City.
At base,
so
he doesn't do those other things until.
But all of those things is a factor that makes Batman.
Yeah,
So
and
why,
so like what you just said, like if
maybe
I'm
I'm saying it wrong, but
no, you're not at all, not at all.
this is Batman. You
He
don't,
doesn't
you can't
have a lot of
take
those.
away.
He doesn't have a lot of that stuff at base though. At base, he just has the Batcave. He has the whip. He has the plane. His gadgets, and that's it. Then he creates things for certain reasons. If
Yeah,
we're just talking just Batman, just feeling like, yo, I need a suit to go and protect my city. He's just gonna have
yes.
a regular suit, batarangs, car, whip, whatever. That's
Mhm.
base. That's literally base. Everything else, all these other suits he's made and stuff like that, every one of those suits was made for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
Listen,
And
I
now,
know these are
now what
things I know.
yeah,
I don't think you're
I
hearing me.
think I think Chuck actually has a good segue. I have a really good example for you right here on the same vein, twofold here. He said threat level versus actual destructive output question mark, right? If I'm going to use a Dragon Ball example one more time, probably not the last time, but if I'm going to use a Dragon Ball example, Cell was strong enough, according to the announcer, according to sources, to destroy the universe, right? Is he as strong as Beerus, who can obviously
Do
potentially
the
destroy the
exact
universe?
same thing.
No, but the
No.
threat level of Cell is universal, but his destructive output is not the same as a Beerus, as a Zeno, or anything of that nature, right? And so, yes, threat level, he's a universal threat, but his Kamehameha wave only really threatened to destroy the solar system.
Sit,
You know what I'm
sit.
saying? So that's
So my
so to
thing
answer,
is,
to go back to that and answer that. But then when you said what makes, say, Batman, right? Or one more Dragon Ball example, what makes Goku, right? It for both of them, it's that will, right? That drive, their mission, or what have you. Let's go back to 1980 something. You talk about Goku, you're not going to say his potential to become, Ultra Instinct. We're not talking about that. We're talking about who is Goku. Let's go back to Batman 30s. Obviously, we still have to get to the, what we would say, brass tacks, right? Get to where they are in canon and stuff now. But what makes up that character is that willpower, that mission, their determination to get that, to train their way up to these certain things or invent these certain things. But they're not going ultra uber right out the gate. I'm going ultra instinct right out the gate. I'm bringing Hellbat. They're going out there like, I'm going to recon. I'm going to do what I normally do on my patrol. What do I need to survive this day's mission? Right.
But if you're
So not
going,
take it away from that, but there's been so many instances in regards to Batman where he's out there fighting somebody. It's like, shoot, I need to get back to base. I don't have what I need. Right. So now that's what we're talking about when we usually think.
okay, so now Batman is your character, and you're bringing him to this versus.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sending in base Batman, or
Yeah.
are you sending in Batman because
I'm
because
using
you gotta
whatever my
compete.
most recent canon version of my character is. So if
yeah.
Batman is going out on patrol, you
Oh, we're
regularly
talking about versus.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sending out
Now
base.
again, if we say that's the importance of scenario. So if I say, all right, y'all, we are bringing strongest version, and I'm not, and we're never going to do this in the group. But if I say Superman versus Goku, I'm not bringing the weakest version of Superman or Goku. I'm going to say both of them at their absolute strongest, or access to everything they've ever done, or we can use what ifs or anything like that, but the scenario is what's important. So no,
So it makes sense to what
use
was said earlier. Then
yes.
we need a list for base form and put access or what they have access to or what can be done because there's no middle here. I think we're
What I would
fighting.
There
say
is a
is
middle. There's
from moving
base and then
forward,
potential. I
I
think
think it should just
there's
be
two
base.
ratings. Yeah,
What
base
do
and
they do in
There
potential.
their
is no
story?
middle. There's no middle.
I
Base
would
and
say
potential.
base.
Base is easy. Base is very easy. If we're talking about base, everything starts from the simplest form of what it is.
Bro, okay, but everybody knows there's a base to everything.
It
But if
starts at the simplest form.
we're trying to scale a character, when we used to get those cards with the powers and
You got
abilities
to
and
start at the
intelligence,
base though. Then you
it
scale.
wasn't based. It was based off who the character is, not
Yeah.
But
based.
how do you scale them if you're adding in everything at the same time? I mean, how do
So
you start from base if you're throwing
here's
in
what I would
everything at the
say,
same time?
right? At the moment, right, and I bring this up because the Creator Class #2 is coming up with our next season. And we have Odina in there, right? We know Odina's getting trained right now in the story. I'm not going to say, let's get Odina Volume 2. We haven't seen that.
What
We haven't
level is
seen
Orphan
any.
Maker?
How strong is she right now? What is that upper echelon of strength? So whatever she's thrown out, whatever output she's thrown out, that's where she's at. We can't say anything more past that, right? How fast can she fly, balls to the wall? Whatever we've seen in the book, that's as far as we go. So same thing with your Batmans. Obviously, we get into 100 plus years of content for these characters, right? We've got scenes of Batman reacting or stabbing Reverse Flash in the foot, right? And so now it's like, oh, his level of perception is there. So that's what you can use and stuff like that as base. That's inherent. He can react to Reverse Flash. So his perception is that. Can't argue with that. Who they are and base are not the same thing. I agree.
Right.
I get what he was saying with that, Chuck, in regards to what makes that character. So like who they are in base, it does make sense in the sense of characters like Green Lantern. If Hal Jordan wasn't inherently a strong-willed person, he would not be the greatest Green Lantern of all time. If Kyle Rayner wasn't an artist, he wouldn't be nowhere near as creative as he is or as versatile as he is as a Green Lantern as he is. So it's like I understand where it's not the same thing, but a lot of the stuff when it comes to certain characters in any medium, it is a very thin but yet intertwined thing.
All right. So right here it says when power scaling fictional characters, it's important to consider their demonstrated abilities, feats, and overall impact within their fictional universe.
Yes.
This can include their physical strength, magical powers, intelligence, and any other unique traits or skills they possess. All right. So this is what I'm trying to say.
That was missing.
Wait, this is what I'm trying to say. No, it says they're considered their demonstrated abilities, feats, whatever. So so that's basically saying if you've seen somebody do so, or can do so, or have access to something, that is their level. And I could go, to another one.
Did it say? And
power scaling is a method of determining a character's power by comparing them to other characters in their series. It's based on feats and implications, and the key difference is how these powers relate to one another. But and same thing here. So I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No, not at all.
I'm trying to understand. So if we're going to talk versus. How are we judging this scale? Are we going exactly like that? Automatically assumed we're going base, or everything we've seen and know they can do?
Right.
When you drop the character sheet of your character, what is that?
A character sheet.
Yeah, but what's usually on there? The basics information. You don't say, "Oh yeah, in issue 4 he levitated a planet," or in this that. That's not in there.
Wait. No, these are things.
At the first verses, we look at 2 character sheets, and then we say off the sheets, this person wins, and then it goes to the next level. Well, this is why he doesn't win, because he was able to do this, do that.
The base is already understood.
It's not understood. It's not understood to everybody.
Everybody has a base.
Yeah,
that is a fact. But if we're going, if you're going into a fight, there's a known fact that this man knows 3 different types of martial arts. I only know kickboxing. Like, that is understood. I don't know what you're going to use. I just know you can do it.
In a skill set already. Yeah, that's in a skill set.
Okay, so we're saying about everything they can do.
If we're talking about Batman at base, what can he do? He's martial artist. He does this, does that, has gadgets, and he thinks.
But I want to.
If we're talking about Batman at base, we're talking about giving him a level. Yeah. And I'm saying the level should be judged on the totality of Batman, not the base.
I agree with what you read, what it said. And again, if we were to continue arguing semantics before we move over to the indie side, the one thing that I didn't hear brought up is gadgets, tools. It said whatever. Now hear me out. Again, I agree with you. They need to come in with their base kit. Absolutely. We can't take away the bat suit and say, all right, Batman. That's not fair. Let's take away the suit and say Iron Man. That's not, absolutely not. But on there, and again, if it does say it on there, then I'll shut up. But yeah, take everything that they've done, right? We know what Bruce Wayne, we know what Batman can do physically. We know he can put some stuff together. We've seen him. There was one storyline. He got drugged with military grade cocaine and was just lost to himself, lost his mind, and became that Zur-En-Arrh Batman, right? Where he pieced together a whole suit out of trash because he is still physically Batman. He's still mentally Batman, whether he has access to everything or not. So what we're saying is not necessarily, what we're saying is the gadgets don't make the character, right? Now, obviously, Green Lantern, you take the ring away, that's a whole nother ballpark. We're not saying take that inherent thing away from the character, but what we're saying is base for base, Batman with Kit, Green Lantern, for example, Kit for Kit, he's coming in there with a ring. That's all he's coming in with. You know what I'm saying? There's no added nothing. He's not coming in with the Green Lantern core, right? He's not
enchanted with some other stuff around it.
Because he's coming in there with the understanding that he can create unlimited things with his ring.
That's him, right?
That's the ring. That's the base of the ring.
Okay. But that's why you would
all have their own thing. So
you would scale him on
how
what
do you scale his imagination?
But it's right.
That's what.
But now we talk about what's inherent to the character.
The simplest form is just saying he has a ring where he can make anything that he wants.
Right. Now think about all the Green Lanterns.
That's literally it.
So what level on the list is Green Lantern?
He can come in there and make a skateboard and just start rolling around.
What is Green Lantern on the list? On this list, what is Green Lantern?
Ooh.
On this list?
I've never seen him
maybe like a tier 5, but that's a reach. That's a reach.
I'm personally putting him at.
He don't really be destroying things.
No.
You know what I mean?
Can he though? With the ring, can he? You know all the other rings in the DC universe.
I don't know.
Does the Green Lantern
so when we talk about, but you're talking about potential though. You're talking about potential.
That's how you grade.
Base and potential. Yeah, but like the Godfather said, base and potential are two different things. He said we're going to judge base rating and then we're going to do a potential rating. So why blend both? Why start at base? He's Green Lantern with a ring who can make anything he wants to that he thinks of. Now potential.
Him at a 7.6.
Now potential for Green Lantern, he can destroy a city if he wanted to. So now we know at base this is what he does. This is his strength level. This is what he can lift. Blah blah blah. But you're talking about a character
right at base.
But you're talking about a character
I think threat is different than output, but that's we're not arguing that at the moment.
Even with Green Lantern he's a very
no, not you. I was talking in the comments. I'm sorry.
Green Lantern is a very difficult person to scale because his thing is all about imagination. But at base we know what he's coming in with is his ring. Now you put his ring up against base Batman with just his suit and his equipment that he has. Green Lantern's washing them. If we're going just off that straight paperwork that says what he does, or what he has and what he does, and what he has and what he does.
Right.
And then from there you start scaling. Well,
because
he does this, he does that. Then you start scaling from there.
Right.
Once that's laid down, you scale from there.
Right.
Okay, but we're
first part, right? This is where do they stand? And again, this person could be God tier level, not literally God tier level, but again, you talk about Green Lantern and Batman. Green Lantern obviously on paper should beat Batman, but then you start adding the other qualities of the character, and that's the nuance about the characters and stuff. What is that ingenuity? What is that intelligence? What is all this? This is just output. This is just what can they do, not potential. How they do it necessarily.
All potential.
Listen, potential, access. The point of the matter is, right? If I tell you I can create anything with the power of my mind, that put me above levels of so much people.
It does, and it should.
Okay, so now, all right. If we're talking, we're going into a battle. Mm-hmm. None of these battles have we ever say, hey, this person versus this person at base. Everybody's throwing everything to the
Not till
wall.
after the base is laid out.
Hey, bro, everybody's throwing everything to the wall. We had a potential Absolver versus Acolyte fight.
Mm-hmm.
That was never Acolyte at base.
That is.
Absolver,
That was Acolyte
Absolver
at
was.
base.
Now, see, the difference with that
I
is
didn't talk about anything Acolyte does.
But me and you both know Acolyte is destroying worlds and universes. So obviously, it's an inside joke. We shit talking. But at the end of the day, just because you didn't put it on paper doesn't mean this is not Acolyte. Just because he holds back, does Acolyte is a threat. Because if he decides, or a certain level, I mean, because every time I use the word threat, people get confused.
Semantics, yeah.
He's a certain level. So everybody's worried about Acolyte because at any moment he can destroy this planet. Nobody's going to judge him at his base. They're going to judge him based on what he can do.
Now, that's in universe, right? So that's in universe threat level. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's the same thing with verses. So if you bring, come on, if Acolyte
as
is
far as story goes,
level,
as far as story goes, right? We haven't seen him do anything that would threaten the destruction of the planet per se.
Yes, but y'all have two different type of verses. Y'all have the random verses where people
for sure.
all they bullshit in, and then y'all have the actual verses where
now that's different.
Now
that is where we got to use book and all that, and then we calculate. But now we're still in the same vein. We're calculating though. What is it that character do? And the book provides more insight. Now, then we limit the person by saying, hey, in your book, Acolyte, for sake of conversation, we'll talk about a speed feat. He was able to traverse the Milky Way galaxy in minutes. So now we're calculating, this is the fastest we've seen him move. That's as fast as he's going. Not potentially going because to a regular human, he's doing something ridiculous. No, this is now his number of speed that he can do. That's it. Right now, again, maybe balls to the wall and he's like, I got to get back to Earth and save the day. Maybe he can go faster, but we don't have that. So now, again, in the official show, I can't do that. I can only say this is what we saw as the feat. That is the absolute fastest we can pull from. Now, when we're doing the group versus match, all right, hey, if you say your guy is massively faster than light speed, then that's it. I can't. There's no arguing that. That's it, right? Because there's nothing else to go off of. So we play a little bit more fast and loose in the group because there's less data to pull from, if you would. Right. But now what we're trying to talk about now is if we say, hey, this person is street level, and then somebody says they have incalculable strength, that doesn't quite work. You know what I'm saying? If they're city level and they're destroying, if we're city level, if we're urban level, if you would, and we say they can destroy multiple city blocks, right, then that's calculable, right? If you start talking about immeasurable levels of strength, you're talking about breaking space-time continuum type stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're trying to kind of avoid and try to iron out.
I mean, at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is at base, we all know the car is going to get you to point A to point B. That's base. That's understood. Mm-hmm. Now, what type of engine you have in it, how fast it goes, how durable it is, how it withstands the different terrain, the different, all of that changes how you would grade every car specific. Yeah. So if we're judging base, that is, to me, that is already understood. We buy certain things.
Unfortunately.
But a car at base,
because I'm sure Barry can run at different speeds.
Yeah,
but there is a base speed. I'm pretty sure you and I can potentially keep up with.
No, his base speed is already set at what it is.
I've never understood. I don't understand why we
said it really good. Factory.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. A car, you can read a car and see exactly what it does. Now, if you bring that car to the John, and I'm thinking this is what it does, but then you like, oh no. Before I came here, I added some attachments, got knives in it, got this, that, changed the tires, and this. Now it's not the same car. That's an enhanced version of the base.
Now the difference is if you have a character that has powers, then that factory made version of that character, right? So when we talk about Flash, okay, he's got he's super fast. Whatever he does, that's innate to him. Now, if you start talking about, when they also use the cosmic treadmill to do all this other stuff and that's now adding the icing on cake on what else he can do with these extra whatever. But
Listen,
factory made Barry Allen,
all I know is
that what is he coming in there with?
all I know is when most things in life get graded and put on a level, it is based on the totality of said thing, not not the horse, because the horse and carriage will do the same thing as the car. We're not.
Yeah.
So
but which one is more? Like I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm again sorry if everybody thinks I'm being argumentative. I'm not. I just love understanding. I am just used to grading something at the totality. Not we pick and choose scenarios and variables and this, that, and the third.
Question, though.
So if we're going to go at the base, that means moving forward, if and when I drop and participate, I am coming in at base. I'm not coming in with the totality. Now, if you're
so again, when we say totality, I want to make sure I'm on the same page. You're saying exactly like
because I was about to add into that.
Not story.
When it comes to totality, don't we have to know the end, like we have to know exactly where it cuts off?
I think I know what he's saying. The totality is everything we've ever seen of this character and what they've done. So every feat, again, Batman, he's reacting to Reverse Flash. Batman has survived attacks from Superman.
No, not the feats. I'm talking. Let's bring Iron Man in.
Okay.
You telling me Iron Man base?
Okay.
Just a man in a suit with proton cannons and a unibeam. All right, cool. I think Iron Man with all of that plus the ability to call in whatever he needs if he needs it. Like if Hulk jumps in, he could call this in. He got access to it. So I do not exclude that. You're now telling me you do. I wouldn't.
Yes.
I'm not saying exclude though. I'm saying we start here, and then after we say this is them, and then we start going, okay, they also do this, they also do this, they also do this.
Yeah, but you graded Batman based off of base, and I was grading him off of his gadgets that he has access to. Not that he will walk with it everywhere he go. I graded the Batman. You graded the base of Batman. That's how this started.
Yeah,
but that's what we're trying to say is we should start from base, and then build. That's what we're saying. Why?
But this is just one part. Yeah, so we're all on the same page now. Yes, that's all one part. Hey, base for base. If they come in with standard gear, first encounter, who's winning? Then we say, all right, hey, but you do realize that this character also has X, Y, and Z. Do they have an answer? And usually how we word it during the versus matches is say, hey, what does your character have an answer for this? And then it's like, yeah, well, of course Iron Man has an answer. He'll just bust out X suit. Batman, he can do this. He'll bust out this gadget. So, but we start with base for base. Absolutely. So, yeah, we're on the same page there. But when you're arguing where do they fall in line on the list, base for base, Batman is not. He's not urban level. He's not punching the entire thing. His gadget outside of base for base now would give him that. Right, it adds on to that. But yes, absolutely on the same page. But the starting point on all the matches is base for base. What does your character normally show up for their mission? What are they walking around in? What is their normal? You pick up issue 1, 2, 3, or whatever your current run of your story. What is your character roaming around in when they're about that action? You know what I'm saying? That's
character sheet versus character sheet, because that's what we can go off of the information first. Then from there, we start asking, all right, so what can he do to stop this? Then a person says, oh, he can do this, he can do that. Okay, what can you do for that? So we got to start at base. We can't, if we say we didn't start with everything, a nigga gonna bring out the Hellbat from the beginning.
Right.
He's bringing out Hellbat.
But that's not
that's what we see all the time.
Again, I'm not trying to say he will bring it up. I am just saying.
No. I'm saying what people will do when those are the parameters. When there's no rules to how we start. When we just say, "Yo, just bring your character in and whatever they can do." Some of these cats don't have books, don't have stories. They can say literally anything they think of at that moment and say, "Yo, well, he can create a black hole." All right, so he can swallow black holes. All right, so he can do it. Just never stop.
It never stops. So
It never
now,
stops.
what can they do? And then we'll start going like that. And that's the importance of the character sheets, which,
Yeah.
quick segue. Tavis does make those breakdown sheets. So if you guys are
Yes.
getting an official breakdown sheet, definitely talk to Tavis about that. Side comment, super breakdown. Got to give them a shout out. Awesome group there. And we have these fuck prep time shirts from them.
Yes.
So definitely check them out as well. It's perfect with this conversation that's going on right now.
Hey, yo, real quick too. I think the good thing about starting at base and then working our way up is that some people don't even make it past like the second level we get to because they already got beat by what this person can do.
Right.
So we don't even get to. They don't even get past that point if
I'm
they
not,
can't beat this certain situation.
I think we kind of went off
No,
went off a bit because we went to the indie verse and how y'all break it down. I just, you know, I'm just saying when we put Batman at a level, I need to understand why he would be at that level. When I read this list,
so we'll,
All right,
we'll
so
begin-
if somebody's robbing the bank,
wait. I know we got to move on.
okay.
I understand y'all are now judging everything
No.
at base, and then y'all question to see where they will fit on this list.
no, not this list. We're not talking about this list. We're not. This list is for somebody that's working on the character sheet to know where their character is, and they just put them there. That's it. This
So
we're
when we-
talking when it comes to the breakdown. That's other things that we won't see on the paperwork. That's like judging LeBron James off only what we see on his stat sheet, not knowing what he can do in them games and how he readjusts. That's you can't just write that down. All of us have character sheets with just the bare minimum information because we can't write down everything that they can do, but we know all based off of their base what this leads to, what that leads to, what that leads to. You know what I'm saying? So that's all we're saying. We're just saying off base. Paperwork on
Just-
paper.
Right.
Who wins on paper?
That's it. So I hope that cleared that up slightly. Yes,
no, it
we're
didn't.
using.
Hell
We're
no, it
using
didn't for him.
Yes, Jamel, we are using the totality of the character in a sense. But again, if Punisher's not coming in with the bazooka, he's coming in with the M16, a handgun, and a knife. But that doesn't take away from who Punisher is, how he moves, how strong he is, how fast he moves, anything like that. He's still the Punisher. Just whatever equipment that he's got on him at the time, we're asking, what is he coming in there normally with? And then that's usually, okay, what is he outputting on this other stuff? That's just one of the many rungs or one of the many factors. And I didn't know we were going to stay here so long. Believe it or not, everybody that's watching and listening, we were only going to go live for 30 minutes. And it's an hour and 22 minutes in, and we haven't gotten to the one that I thought was really going to cause a lot of conversation. We're moving to the indie comic book characters. And oh boy. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. I use mostly characters that were in the indie breakdown. Lord forgive me for what is about to happen. We're talking street level characters. As they stand now, I know these characters will get. I know Absolver is going to get way stronger than where he is right now. I know that. We've had conversations about that. I know. But in regards to where everybody's stories is right now of these characters that are right here, these are street level characters. I don't know if everybody's read everything. The one on the top left, we got Homeless Homeboy from Hold That Down, Bruh Comics. Below him, we have Stormglider from Legends Comics. We have Pinpoint down there from Page One.
Pinpoint, man, my man. Yo, listen, RP Pinpoint, man.
Shouts out to Pinpoint. We got our character Blue Morphle in the top right hand corner. We've got Evora Lee from 615 Comics right below her, and then you've got Zyla from Ruling Hand on the bottom right. And of course, as stated previously, we do have Absolver right in the middle. Jamel, based on everything that we've discussed, let's talk about Absolver. How are we feeling?
Not street level.
Okay, talk to me. Again, what's harder for us is our limited amount of content for these characters. So I'm just kind of taking you through the. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're good. For the simple fact, like I said, I believe street level is more grounded, closer to Batman, Daredevil, Punisher type characters.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple fact that Absolver just came back to life from once being dead, automatically eliminated him because now that puts you in a supernatural spectrum, whether he has powers or not. You understand what I'm saying? Like, not, I died for like a couple of hours and I came back. Like, nah, you was dead, and then you came back. So that automatically puts you in a supernatural side of things. And then when you add everything he can do and this, that, and the third, then that
Okay.
me, that takes him away from street level.
And then just to confirm, of course, again, obviously he's supernatural. I'm calling him in. Like if there's a fight, if we bring a mainstream person, if we're talking supernatural stuff and like Spawn type situation is happening, if I'm pulling from an indieverse, I'm calling Absolver, I'm calling Zuriel, I'm calling these type of cases for sure, absolutely. Now again, anybody that's listening, if you've read Absolver, all that stuff, throw in your 2 cents and stuff. If you've read any of these stories, throw in your 2 cents as well. I'm usually talking again. My stance in regards to like power scaling, in regards to that list, car was passing by. In regards to that list, I've always looked at it at the level of output that they showcased, right? The level of power or level of strength, not necessarily the level of threat, because again, Absolver on the supernatural side is a threat level, that I don't even know where to necessarily quantify. But in regards to, again, strength and ability, I put him in that urban level, subconsciously or just on the list, not necessarily subconsciously. I put him on that list on that level because I haven't seen him do anything or cause anything that would exceed a city level destruction.
No.
So that's where we're going. Like base for base, blow for blow, Absolver isn't destroying a city. However, I imagine if he vanquished the right opponent, he would then get to that point where he is able to destroy an entire city. But as it stands at the moment, that urban level, that street tier, if you would, is where I would place him. But again, if we want to argue semantics of definition in regards to the list, like we could do that. But that's why I put him there, just to say that. But are we in agreement necessarily on that spectrum?
I mean, if you look at it from that aspect, yes.
Okay.
If you're looking at it from that aspect, I agree. So okay. I would only disagree if we're just talking my understanding of urban and street level. But if we're going off the list and everything like that, 100%, no disagreement there.
Okay, so everybody that's in the power group, want the indie versus group, not the power scaling group, the indie versus group, indie breakdown group, or watching the show. Simply put, incalculable strength doesn't work on city level. Incalculable strength doesn't work on star level. They are calculable. Now, to the regular everyday person, as it relates to threat level, a regular person would be like, he has immeasurable strength. But when we're scaling it, it's measurable. So the hope is when we start tiering these characters out in the thing, and hopefully we can start doing power scaling Mondays. I think that'd be pretty cool. Whatever day we agree on, what have you. But I think that's something that we definitely fire. And we would use the scaling system that Tavis has brought to the group and scale out all of these characters so that everybody knows, hey, my character is tier whatever. So sake of conversation, in one of the last events, not the Valesse one, but the one prior to that with the March Madness, we had a character by the name of Colossus. Colossus was that guy. Okay, let's just the long and short of it. So looking at like Colossus was able to do, this dude was dang near either a tier 1 or tier 0. This guy was an extra dimensional threat. He was crossing multiverses. He was able to, based on the fan made book, I think it was, by just punching against his opponent, had the potential to destroy entire universes. Right. So like
didn't need to breathe.
Right. Didn't need to breathe. Didn't need to do anything. Bleed. Right. Like he was
and he had this ability. Plot armor.
Okay.
He called him Cole off of that damn Mortal Kombat movie.
Hey, I'm about to be K Dot in this bitch, bro. I don't care.
Michael Wynn, if you're in here, defend your character. Let's talk about it.
Shout out to Michael Wynn, but
probably cool, funny guy. I got no beef, bro. But your character, Bruh.
I mean, he was the guy. He was
He
the
was
guy.
the guy.
And so, now that, and when we talk about immeasurable strength, when we talk about incalculable strength, yeah, I can understand those definitions when you start talking about those level of characters, right? But even him, again, it's a stretch because at minimum, we know that he can destroy universes. Right. So in regards to this list, that's still a calculation. That is still something that can be measured. Let's actually dive in deeper. And the purposes group, I want to learn about these characters. And I hope it helps you develop your characters that much more and helps everybody get interested in your characters, stuff like that. Like measure these things out. I remember we talked to Black Bow, and we're almost done here. We talked to Black Bow when we was doing his interview. And we pulled the fact that in one of the last pages of the book, there was an explosion, sent cars flying past him. And he was in the same vicinity and he was unmoved. And we were like, bro, that's a whole durability feat, man. This man didn't get scratched. He didn't get shaken up. Nothing happened to him, but cars around him, buildings around him are falling apart. And he's chilling. He just went like this. And you're like, oh, I thought he was a regular guy. But it's like, no, there was so much more to it. So when we had Black Bow versus Delta Dogs, everybody's like, Delta Dogs right off rip. And I'm not going to tell you the verdict of it. But a lot of people were surprised by, how the fight went because they're just like, he's just a regular guy with a bow and arrow. And it's like, no, let's actually talk about, are the Delta Dogs outputting the same amount of power as, say, an explosion that sent SUVs and cars flying up in the air? Have we seen that? Let's really kind of nuance those discussions in each of the feats to characters. Again, completely different when we're in the group because the group, not everybody has a book, so we can only go based off character sheets. But that's what we're looking for. I think I say this often. I want to see the ingenuity and cunning of the character, whether they're strong enough. I'm like, if we roll the randomizer wheel and Pinpoint gets selected and he's got to go against characters like Odina, how do you write that story? Let's talk about how Pinpoint engages. Let's talk about how Pinpoint tackles the threat of that nature. What kind of recon is he doing? What weapons is he bringing along with him? At the end of the day, he's peak human, so he's a 9C, right? Obviously, Odina is, according to our interview, is at least a 7A. So blow for blow, no, absolutely not. He's not fighting her. But what is he going to bring to the table with him? Because again, you go based on that story. Is he going, what gadgets is he going in there with? Right. But if we just go based off a character sheet, like Lonzo was saying earlier, character sheet to character sheet, he lost. It's not a conversation. Yeah. He lost. But now
it's up to the creator. Yes. Now it's up to the creator to fight for your case.
Right.
So which makes it fun.
So yeah, there we go. All this was just about street level, and we talked about it for an hour and a half. Jesus Christ. Editing's gonna be great. Editing is gonna be great.
All thanks to y'all, man.
I don't feel bad. I don't.
Yeah,
I feel like it's dope, man.
Every time we do this, y'all always gang up on me.
No, that's never intentional. That's never intentional.
Gang up.
It's never intentional. Y'all just bros at war.
You threw the first punch,
bro.
See, you threw the first punch, and then we swing back.
Anti-hero on the show. If I wasn't here, y'all would have just agreed, shook hands, and the shit would have been done in like 15 minutes. Y'all needed me.
No,
me and Lloyd argue all the time, bro.
A lot. A lot.
I'm always secretly trying to destroy Lloyd. So always.
You know what I mean? Listen, and again, just to try to revert back, we also just confirmed, anybody that's just now tuning in, according to Lonzo, and of course, according to the movies, that Dominic Toretto officially scales above Deadpool. So that'll be a whole nother thing that you guys can message him about in regards to that. But we've never seen a strength feat like that from Deadpool, but that's a whole nother side conversation. Does anybody have any other closing remarks as it relates to power scaling and versus matches as a whole?
So my one closing remark is I challenge our members, our creators, our community in the group, man. Really dive deep in with your characters, man. Don't just try to make someone that's just powerful and impossible to beat, because then it lacks imagination of like what could happen in that story. Some of these characters I see, I can't even imagine reading a story about them because they do everything. They have no weaknesses. They're just there just to win. I really want to see, vulnerability. I want to see people that have something to lose. And I want to inspire y'all to just really dig deep with y'all creations, man. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to throw in a pinpoint. Pinpoint be out there. Pinpoint get them
Pinpoint
straight.
is everywhere and
And
not
he keeps
scared.
it real with the power scaling. He don't try to, add on nothing. Like Pinpoint is what Pinpoint does. He knows where where he stands, what he can fight, and he's gonna try to do his best. If he gets clipped, he gets clipped. That's
Mhm.
what happens, man. So that's really all I gotta say. Be on the
Jamel,
lookout for Odina Week next week, all over concrete. I know the vibes.
Jamel.
Um, yeah, just to piggyback off of that, we all grew up watching specific shows and reading comics and stuff, and we've always liked the underdog story. You know how they're gonna bounce back. Oh my God, what's gonna happen next week? You know, the whole point of loving Super Saiyan was because we saw Goku constantly get beat up, but we always love how he came back with a new power level or how he decided to do something. Um, if I'm just going to keep it real, like it's not it's not fun if your character can't get they don't have a weakness or some kind of vulnerability. If I go down a list and your character can do 20,000 things, then it's like, okay, I'm not going to participate, you know, and
Ain't no point.
it's no point. It's not enjoyable. There's no fun in uh the fan factor, I should say, when fans are looking and trying to vote just off of that, you're just going to win. So if you're just creating characters that's going to be unstoppable, then I agree. There's no reason for me to buy your comics because I know he's going to win. You know, it's not. If you look at how strong Galactus is, you know, one variant weaknesses is like if he doesn't have a planet to eat, he will get
Yeah,
weak.
take a week and
Now,
get clipped.
and whether they show it or they use that against him, we as readers all know this. So as powerful as he is, we know his weakness.
Got a
And
weakness.
and
Hmm.
to tell a great story. If we're looking at power scaling, if your hero is at a 5 or whatever number, however you look at it, then their villains need to be at 6, 7,
10.
or
Yeah.
even match them to a point where every hero has their twin per se. Every hero has that one that'll take them to another level, push them mentally, emotionally, and
Right.
if your character is super strong, that it's really not a fun read. Like it's not,
Yeah.
and it's not cool. If I call it the kryptonite theory, whereby because the old Superman books, they should just throw kryptonite everywhere for Superman. Boom,
Hmm.
boom, and that's why he became such a hard character to write for, and that's why they started giving him more of the human factor of things with emotions and stuff to bring him down, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not fun if your characters are like crazy powerful for no reason.
Don't
So
be afraid to lose, y'all. Yeah,
That
for real.
you
Don't
took
don't be afraid to
mine.
lose,
You
man.
took mine.
yeah,
No.
Lonzo loses all the time.
All the time. Listen,
All
I
the time.
took I took the fight with Colossus knowing it was damn near impossible, but I said I'm gonna try. I got the creativity, I got the mind to do it. I think Acolyte can do it. If Michael had said the wrong thing, it was over. He almost lost a couple times, but you know what I mean. That was a chess match, And when it came down to him and Luna, he lost that. Came down to the chess match. What beat what? And that's what made it fun. That's what made it dope. You know what I'm saying?
And
Some people didn't agree with that win, but it was broken down right. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
yeah.
it's also getting a little personal in there sometimes. Like, have fun,
Uh,
have fun.
Uh-oh.
I, I will say, as mine is, I was going to say, don't be afraid to lose. I think one of the things that
He stole that from me.
okay, watch yourself. Listen, but what I like about some of these older stories, and you brought up Dragon Ball, which I kind of always revert to because there was a that era obviously that we mostly grew up with. Dragon Ball was glorious. There was stakes. They lost that Saiyan saga. Watching Dragon Ball and then watching Z, and then seeing these characters that we fell in love with and grew with get clipped off in the Saiyan saga. It was like, oh my God, wait a second. Now, good, most of them haven't died. You see Chaozu die, you're like, there's no way they can bring them back. You know what I mean? Like, that adds another element. Now, obviously, they wished them back with the Namekian and Dragon Balls, but there was still a level of stakes because who are you sending? Right? Bulma, Krillin, and Gohan, and there's threats higher than Vegeta out there. There's stakes. They can lose. If Krillin dies, he's out of there. Like, there's stakes. There's laws. The Android saga, in no matter what timeline. I was just talking to Tasha this morning about it. that was that would have been the best saga to leave off the series, end it, or if you're going to continue it, you had 2 opportunities to pass the baton to Gohan there. I could write a Dragon Ball dissertation. I'm not going there, but Super Saiyan was glorious because there was stakes, there was meaning, and it should have stayed as the last form. And let's wrap a story around that. That is the ultimate form. Now let's learn what teamwork is all over again because a new threat came. But this is still the strongest form, but let's get back to that ingenuity and cunning. How do you defeat a foe that managed to surpass the highest level you can go?
But
what now? I think, they had, in the sense of King Piccolo, I said I'm not going to go full Dragon Ball, but King Piccolo, they couldn't beat him blow for blow. Roshi and Shen's master Mutaito couldn't beat him. What did he do? He sealed him away. He died from it, and it's just like, that's the cost. Now, I'm not saying kill your main characters off. What I'm saying is, don't be afraid to lose and give us something. Try to create something. Be creative with how your heroes defeat the villains or how the villains win, or whatever the case may be, because otherwise you're going to run into something called power creep, and that could be a whole nother half-hour conversation. Try to avoid that. Every villain doesn't, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I think, does this great. We saw Dio, we saw the pillar menu, like, oh my gosh, the level of threat is getting crazy. And then we get back to Morio and we see them fighting essentially just a serial killer. But the stakes were it still was felt. He wasn't a world-ending threat. He was just a terror in the town. But it wasn't world-ending, but it was still felt. He said power creep. Yeah, so power creep is essentially, again, going back to Dragon Ball, you had Raditz, then you had Nappa and Vegeta, then you had Frieza, then you had the androids, then you had Cell, you got Majin Buu, right? You keep going up and up until you get to a point where it's just like, where else can we go, right? Because now, you have Goku and Vegeta and all the rest of the gang, reaching angelic level of powers, God of Destruction level of powers. Now you got to introduce villains that somehow was that strong the whole time, or characters that were that strong the whole time but just never made themselves known. How did Frieza go being this ultimate threat, but we have Gas and all these other people that Granola was dealing with out there in the background? It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Or Moro, like if Moro was that guy, you know what I mean? So that's the power creep. Another example, and then I promise we're going to close again. That one feat that pissed me off when me and Lonzo was talking about Batman reacting to Reverse Flash. My God, right? So now, if Batman has the perception to catch Reverse Flash, somebody that's comparable to Flash that can move faster than you can think, and Joker catches him off guard. Now we start talking about, well, what can Joker react to? How fast does he move? Like, it adds this weird kind of fact check and bullshittery, if you would, into matchup, because it's like, okay, well, inherently now again, it wasn't a gag situation, it wasn't a one-off situation. My man was down now for the count. He's on the ground. Correct me if I'm wrong. If y'all read the issue, he's on the ground. He sees he's kind of bloodied and stuff, and he manages to that movement for Reverse Flash or Flash should have been like slow. We've seen Flash in this space, and everything is still. And you're telling me that Reverse Flash, even in a moment of cockiness, at moving that fast, is able to perceive at a level that no human can. And he still got caught off guard by Batman, but Batman gets caught off guard by other people. That's when you start running into these issues where now scaling becomes all sorts of wishy-washy. Because again, if Joker is catching Batman off guard, but Batman is catching Reverse Flash off guard when he's using the Speed Force, it gets wonky. And let's not do what the mainstream is doing and forgetting what our characters can and can't do, because now you just start throwing BS out there. Anyway, be creative. Don't be afraid to lose. And let's be creative about how our characters overcome the odds. So anyway, that's all I got. If you guys want to share where everybody can find you, what you guys got coming next really quick, one more time, and then we'll get out of here.
Yes, sir. So, you know me, I'm Lonzo Starr, CEO and founder of Concrete Comics, writer and creator of The Legendary Acolyte and Zoriel. And y'all can catch me next week at C2E2 in Chicago. Also, we're releasing Odina #5 next week. And yeah, it's going up. I do got to get up out of here. I got to go and pick up the little young boy. But y'all know the vibes, man.
All right, brother. Till then, Jamil, what you got coming?
Yes, sir.
My name is Jamil Letzi. I'm the writer and creator of Absolver. What I have coming is the redone Absolver 1 has been being reworked, and Absolver 4 is coming out. and I have a surprise character that I'm going to be dropping soon. And that's it.
Okay. And then, of course, everybody, Lord Judge of Midnight Comics. This has been an indie breakdown power scaling conversation. You guys can follow us at Midnight X Comics. All that stuff is below Midnight X Comics everywhere except for Facebook and YouTube, where it's just Midnight Comics. And of course, please definitely follow the indie breakdown group. It'll be indie breakdown /verses, or you can follow the Instagram page, which is the same thing, indie breakdown verses. Sign up for our mailing list. You'll get a free book from us. And of course, you can check out all the past indie breakdown videos that we've done on our website, midnightcomics.org, or of course, if you're on YouTube, we got a whole nice little playlist set up. Absolver is one of the characters that was on there. Definitely check that out, because I learned a lot via our conversations about what Absolver could do. I mean, I brought him up in the street level thing, but he's from, never mind, read it. He is a high level character. I need y'all to read that so you guys can see exactly what the heck I'm talking about. And I do look forward to seeing that new reworked story. And anyway, guys, I'm Lloyd Jones, Midnight Comics. Remember, until next time, everybody, midnight is coming, and see you then. Boom.